Yeah.
I don't know. 6164 had some pretty strong drivers.
Yeah.
They were not afraid of anything. That's for sure.
Oh, they're not
They had
afraid of
a
a
frame
robot.
They had a frame that looked an awful lot like, I don't know how many of you guys saw our Jingle Bell robot. It looked an awful lot like that, but with bigger wheels.
I think it was more or less a kit bot, right?
And no, it wasn't Kit
Really?
Bot.
Oh, okay.
They found
It was pretty much, like I said, it looked a lot like what we built because it was just a bunch of two.
1x2.
With, yeah, 1x2 and some bigger wheels on it. But they were not afraid to go over any.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
crossing pretty much any fence. And I mean, that's a strong strategy.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, you could.
What'd you think of the three-wheel robot that was there Sunday?
I
That
don't
was
know
Sword
what to
Dog.
think.
Short
of
dogs.
That was. Usually they're a pretty competitive team.
And-
I was not as impressed with them as.
I'm
they
not,
had in the past.
I'm not a fan of the robot design. I mean, they executed it very well. I think it's going to have some issues.
All their mechanisms were spot on, but they really goofed up with their
They were a little slow in intake.
a little bit slow. At least there's work.
True.
Ours.
Valid point.
We got one
Yeah, we do.
with the
Yeah,
help
Yeah,
of the low bar.
yeah.
Yeah, I think as Priyanka said, this year's scrimmage was valuable like the last 2 years in terms of learning some weaknesses on the robot before we got to
We found some weaknesses. I think we're fixing them, and it's going to be a pretty solid robot.
So why didn't you guys go for it to be a climbing thing at the end?
I think our main strategy was that we wanted to be able to go into the low bar. So
Yeah.
we are a very short robot. Our robot is 14 and a half inches tall.
I think this game had like those two dichotomies intentionally because that low bar, given that that's always there, that is a strong strategy for crossing the defenses. We figured that was more important than getting that climbing point. Yeah.
Yep.
And that also takes a lot of engineering away. We figured we wanted to focus on going over the defenses and being able to shoot them with the high goal. We found that strategy to be more valuable. Not point-wise as well, just the time and effort to design a really strong shooting mechanism would be more valuable than doing the climbing mechanism.
There weren't any teams that Cedar Falls at the scrimmage that had climbing.
There were a couple that I think had mechanisms to climb. None of them demonstrated.
Because since we have like limited.
They asked at the beginning like, hey, has anybody been working on any climbing mechanisms?
Well, so I know QC Elite is working on climbing mechanisms. Theirs wasn't working on Sunday, so we'll see if they go
Children of
to
the Corn had the pointy finger.
What's that?
Children of the Corn had the pointy finger.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be climbing. It was
I think they were using that to
Interesting
go
robots.
over some of those other
I thought it
defenses.
did, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting to see the different robots. And when we go to regional, we'll see 60 different robots.
Does anyone else have any
Do
questions?
you have any reveal video yet?
We have not created a review video.
yeah.
We'll do filming that.
That's we're going to get a lot of filming done tonight because we've finalized our decals. We've got bumpers on. This is the best night to be getting
Demonstration ready.
yeah.
That's close to, well, it should be competition ready by the end of the night. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
We're even be getting some aerial footage from like
Aerial footage of the bot in the air.
So later this week we'll have a reveal
Just-
video out.
Duke it.
Footageception.
Yep. So the next 3 weeks we're going to be working with our practice robot, getting driver training and getting the autonomous code working, or at least getting the autonomous code finalized. We do have some mostly working autonomous code, which is actually a huge step ahead of where we have been previous years. Most years when we go to scrimmage, our autonomous code is amounting to drive safe for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've got a nice autonomous code. And like the time that we didn't have any weird mess ups that shouldn't ever happen again.
Basically, the time it worked, we got
Yes.
hit by another bot.
Yeah, the time it worked, we got hit by another bot that wasn't supposed to be moving. Ah!
Called back.
So mad at them. And yeah,
Yeah, that was
so it's we might not make it into the tower. We will hit the tower with a ball.
Well, I suspect by the time we get to regional, we'll be able
Yeah.
to make it in the tower.
Oh yeah,
We have a tower.
because we will have Peabody to program and
Yep.
fix anything that might go wrong.
For the next 3 weeks, we'll also be working on a chairman's presentation. So part of the chairman's submission is not only writing the essay and the video, but we'll choose 3 students as presenters, and they will be presenting a 5-minute presentation in front of judges, talking about our outreach and just how we spread FIRST in the community. That will also be working on.
Who are your presenters?
We haven't finalized those yet.
Okay.
I can tell you that it's probably not going to meet on safety company.
Yeah.
We'll be in the pits as much as possible.
Yeah. So I think this year, all students are planning on going to both regionals.
Yeah.
Have you heard?
As far as we know.
We're going to be getting, we will get,
Which will be
we
way
didn't quite
more
get a full
specific
team
than
picture
that.
at the scrimmage. We will get full team pictures with new shirts. It's going to be so much nicer than last year when we had, like, for the past year, we have had a picture taken at the last scrimmage because that was the only time that we had a full team assembled. Now we're going to have them all together at scrimmage with robot, with new shirts, and possibly fleece jackets. That's,
Yep. I think a competition having the entire team will definitely be valuable. At Peoria we had 9 students, and that was not nearly enough for all the roles that you have in competition.
Yeah, yeah. So when we go to competition, like Veronica said, 8 students, 10 students, whatever we had at Peoria last year was definitely not enough because it just kind of give you logistics. We have 4 students who are on drive team. So because we have a student coach, we have 2 student drivers, and a human player. So right there, when you have 8 students at regional, there's half of them. You need a couple of students in the pits at all times to be able to come and answer questions from judges.
safety captain, scouts, sort of
Safety
thing.
captain needs to be around.
You need
Doing
people
scouting, watching the matches, and figuring out teams that you work well with, seeing what other teams are doing, so teams that you might want to work with, or teams you want to completely avoid. It works both ways. So even at 20 students, we're going to keep everybody busy for the regional. So Thursday, not so much. But once we get into real competition on Friday and Saturday, everybody
Yeah, it's gonna be-
we'll have enough students and enough things to do. We'll keep everybody engaged and still have enough people around to be able to have a reasonable cheering section when
Yeah.
everyone's out on the field.
That's gonna be nice.
It helps if parents come to help cheer too.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna be in Iowa this year, so you can come.
Yeah, come support us at the Iowa Regional. That's the first year we want to have a good showing to Iowa teams at that regional. Make sure. I think there's no doubt that it's going
Really
to be a
interesting
really good
regional.
regional.
There's 3 Chinese teams and a Brazilian team, all at the Iowa regional.
Okay.
Team last year.
There was a Turkish team at the Central Illinois Regional. So
I don't
they
think
were
there are any
interested.
foreign teams at Central Illinois this year.
No, they're
They're
all
all moved
teams.
to Iowa.
So one Iowa team, a couple of Kansas City area teams, a bunch of
Yeah.
Minnesota teams.
So when you're scouting other teams, what are you looking for during the tournament?
So it depends on what ranking we'd be, whether we'd be in a position where we will be alliance captains and selecting teams, and also depends on our strategies. So since we're going over defenses and shooting, we might want to pick teams that could do climbing or do the defenses that we can't.
Yeah. So we need teams that will work well with you.
So work well with our strategies.
Yep, that's what we're looking for in general.
Mhm.
This is, teams that work well, whether they're teams, like Pam said, whether we're looking to, if we're ranked up high, are we looking for teams that we want to pick, or, teams that we want to, that we would pair well with and that we maybe want to start talking to about, being picked by them. So it
And
kind of works both ways.
teams that, and I mean, even if you're, if you're not the highest seed, if you get picked first, you're in on that discussion, you can help with that.
Yep. So it helps pay attention because sometimes you may have seen something that your alliance captain hasn't seen, and by the time you get around to the second pick, especially at Central Illinois, there's 38 teams I think planning, 38 or 39 teams planning to be there. In alliance selection, 24 of them are going on. So you're going quite a ways down the list of available teams there. So you know that the top teams are going to be picked right away. So by the time if you're anywhere between the first and the fourth alliance captain, that second pick is hard because it's finding a team that is compatible with your strategy, and it's just finding that diamond in the rough a lot of times.
I think the eighth might actually be the hardest because you get about 2 seconds of discussion between your first and second.
Yes and no. I mean, it's hardest because of that, but it's sometimes easier because you know that the 2 teams you want, you're gonna get, because no one else can pick them.
All I know is I'm not doing that.
But
We also have this year a scouting app coded by a team member. And have you talked to Upper Creek about there's another team that is interested in joining us in
scouting, yeah. So there's a team in Central Illinois, right? They're from
Yeah.
Central Illinois. They're coming from Kansas City, and they're a smaller team, and they're not intending to bring all of their team anyway, I think, because of the distance. So they've asked us if we'd be willing to help them with scouting.
So yeah, we've got the scouting app, which I think Alex is planning on doing finalizing building this week and the next.
Yep. Well, and one thing that we might consider, I don't know what our plans are. I know this week we're not planning to meet, but one thing that we could do, at home, and I'm not going to speak for you, Alex, 'cause I'm not sure where you're at for release stages on it. But as we go into the first couple weeks of regionals, it would be interesting to bring up the matches. The matches will be publicized, so starting this Saturday, there'll be matches, and you'll be able to go to the Blue Alliance and watch them online.
Yeah, watch.
Yeah, definitely
If you
try
get
to
a
watch the
chance,
live
watch
stream.
the matches. The scouting app is at scouting.team4646.org. I don't know if this is helpful to you guys, but we should try and get your students to watch the matches. And you click on the match, you can add information about each team on the match. That's how it still works, right, Alex?
So are you suggesting that if you already know the teams that are going to show up in the Cedar Falls,
Yeah.
you're going to start watching them this weekend?
We'll start watching them right away.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and they'll start watching us. I mean, we'll go into Central Illinois, and then because we'll do Central Illinois first, and then we'll do Iowa the week after. There'll be teams that already know a lot about us by then because they'll have watched how we did in Central Illinois.
We've already followed every team on Twitter. That's
Yeah.
going to be one of our teams.
We do some of that,
It's
yeah.
scouting related and not
It is
related to
scouting.
me just obsessively following everybody.
Well, it might be a little bit old.
It's part of that too.
Those guys.
But it's valuable to build those relationships because
Yeah.
it is unfortunate a little bit, but it is sometimes a little bit of who you know at the regionals and how well you do something. So it's good to be able to put a strong robot out there, but when it's good to be able to have some friends out there too.
Yeah. And we know and we're friends with a lot of strong teams. We know Neutrino,
SWAT.
Liberty.
What?
Speaking
We're not
of
gonna see
which,
this year.
Oh, yeah.
hey, is anybody going to KC anytime soon? No.
We left it.
Okay, just wondering because we don't have our large team flag because we left it at Cowtown. Yeah. We'll be getting it back at the Iowa Regional.
Is it on a pole?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can't just
Mail it to us. No.
We'll
Yeah.
take it off and mail it to us.
They could,
Put it on
but
a new PVC
at this
mic.
point, especially at this point now, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
We thought we were gonna have some people over.
Man, I thought that
holidays,
somebody
so
was. I
thought
thought that
somebody
Ray
was
was
too.
going to pick it up, and then
Yeah.
it just didn't.
didn't happen.
And we never got it.
That's why we
We'll get
nice
it.
things.
Yeah.
Hey, it's 8:45.
It is.
Yeah, we're still on it, so.
Yeah. Last check I got, they're doing a final systems check. They should be
I'll go look in on
Yeah,
them.
they should.
Yeah, it's
be ready
15
soon.
Thomas.
This is probably the
15
earliest
minutes.
probably we've had a robot year.
Yeah, we're about on track.
Yeah. So we'll be bagging, putting it in the bag, and then we have the lockup form. So we're not based on the honor system that we promise on our hearts that we will not unbag the robot until we get to competition. We do have our practice robot, which will be valuable to. We can continue testing. We can let the drivers practice. Driving practice is actually one of the things that can set apart some of the good teams from the okay teams. Because the good teams will be able to make a second robot, as we happen to be able to do, but also get their drivers to really hone down the strategy. Because it's the first time that your drivers really get to drive the robot is at the competition. They may not be too familiar with the controls, and then they may not do well during the qualification matches. So I think there's a saying that a good good drivers can make a bad robot play well. Sometimes a good robot with bad drivers doesn't always do well. So hopefully we'll have both good drivers and a good robot.
Something's going on with the encoders on Sherman, but I think they'll get it fixed.
Okay,
It'll be fine.
Yep. So will you be able to send us that letter for the schools?
Yes. Yep, I'll get one of those drafted up here. Yeah, that is unfortunate this year. Only one of the regionals falls over spring break, so.
Oh, darn.
So.
And I can tell the students are very broken up about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, last year they were both over spring break, and I couldn't make it to either because I was in New York over spring break.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hard decision for us to decide where to go and how to deal with.
It gets easier when there's one in your state.
Well, it becomes a little bit easier. I mean, because we don't necessarily have to send everybody up for Thursday, because with Thursday just being a practice day, we only need the students who are going to be needed in the pits, and maybe a couple people else around. Certainly welcome to come up if you want to come up earlier, but if you feel like it's more important for your student to be in school that Thursday, then that certainly could be an option. Just because, like I said, we'll need the drivers, we'll need the pit crew, we'll need a couple others, but we won't need all 20 up there on Thursday.
This is the first time that we're having a regional in Iowa.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
This is a new thing, and I just want to thank you, Emily, and
Yeah, 525 did a lot of legwork on getting this going. Four dogs up in the Cedar Falls.
thank you, Emily Berkland and Andy Marshall, first senior mentors in Iowa. They've done a lot for Iowa First. It's
Yeah, so when we started as a team, we were the 4th Iowa team.
now there's
Iowa
what?
team.
There's
Now there's
I mean
12.
there were 10 Iowa teams at least listed at, not all of them were there, but there were 10 Iowa teams just listed at the thing.
At scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a couple weren't there.
And also the only Nebraska team was there.
There's at least 2 North Dakota teams, they're both John Deere teams.
So you said that the governor was going to sponsor FRC teams if they're in a school?
Yeah, the Governor's STEM
it's-
Initiative.
yeah,
It's there sponsoring starting teams. It's through this program that they have that's
It's the scale up.
it's essentially like pays
Yeah,
to start
STEM grants.
STEM programs. Yeah.
They did the same thing for FLL a couple of years ago,
Yep.
and they kind of picked 2 or 3 programs every year to pour resources in to get them up and moving. So you saw an explosion in FLL teams a couple of years ago as a consequence, and then they've done other. I used to write about this stuff, so they've done a couple others too. That I can't. And now they're doing obviously
Yeah.
FRC.
Yeah,
I think
there's like, honestly, it was chance that we figured this out because I just so happened to actually read that the email that they send out to all of their subscribers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't remember the name of the program, but it sponsors things like Hyperstream and all sorts of different
You
school
had it right.
programs.
The government STEM initiative, and it's the scale-up program.
Yeah, scale up program, that's what it's called. But yeah, so they're giving the $5,000 registration fees.
It's $6,000 of registration fee and $2,000 of stipend to
Yeah,
to the
it's,
teacher.
I mean, it's
Which is
good,
just, that's the bare minimum to get the team started.
but we're going to see some teams started. And
I
that's,
suspect we'll see a few.
Any of the Des Moines public schools gonna do that?
West Des Moines is looking at a team.
That's gonna-
I
That's
mean,
the only one
that
I've
all
heard of in the
depends.
metro so
We don't
far.
know how many will actually get the sponsorship from the STEM initiative. So.
Yeah, I know, but I know for sure West Des Moines is submitting a proposal. I don't know about any other teams in the area, or even I haven't heard of any others in the state even. So I just think we're going to see a few pop up. But it'll be good to see more teams.
And I don't want to say that this sponsorship is because of us, but we've certainly done some stuff with the STEM Hub. So,
It certainly helps.
no. Any other questions?
You know how many teams are participating in the Iowa event?
There will be 60 teams at the Iowa regional. It's a pretty big regional.
pretty full regional.
Yeah. So that
There's
just
a
to
lot
give you an
of
idea, that's about the
Minnesota
same
teams.
size as the Minnesota regionals that go on, and the Kansas City regional is about that same size. So for the first year, for it to be that size of a regional, really, that kind of joke. Especially, I was concerned about it at first because the first, so the way you do this is they open up at certain times when you can register for your regional. So we registered for our first regional. We actually didn't register forIowa as our first regional. We registered for Central Illinois to make sure that we got into Central Illinois. I'm sorry?
Didn't we get automatic registration or something?
They were kind of holding spots for the Iowa teams. They wanted to make sure they got in, but they weren't specifically holding them in there. So I made sure that I was there at 11 o'clock on the second day to get in there. But going into that second day, there were only 8 or 9 teams signed up for the regionals. Well, because us, neutrinos, even Swart Dogs, we're all trying to get into their normal first regionals because we're always trying to get into regionals that fill up.
That's smaller numbers.
So, well, not even smaller numbers. I mean, so both Neutrino and Sword Dogs are going up to the regionals up in Minnesota, and those are 60-team regionals. In fact, what they'll do, there's 4 regionals in Minnesota on 2 separate weekends. There's 2 up in Duluth, and I don't know exactly where they're at in Duluth, but so you have 120 teams in Duluth in one weekend, and then this year it's week 6 are the Minneapolis ones, and they're actually held across the street from each other. So you got to get another 120 teams, and those fill up almost instantly.
And there was none in Kansas City this year?
What's that?
There was no Kansas City one?
There is a Kansas City regional this year. We opted because of spring break to go to the Central Illinois. We also a little bit like the Central Illinois regional a little better than the Kansas City one. Both regionals are actually very nice regionals, but we had to pick somewhere to go, and the students
Was
decided.
it, I think it was Central Illinois that we got gracious professional, was it? Did we head up an alliance at Cedar last year?
No, we were
That
first pick
that was
last
the other
year.
one? We headed up something.
We headed up an alliance at Kansas City.
Okay.
We were the 7th alliance captain. So like I said, as we get in, so if we go back to line selections, and we're talking about scouting and stuff, you have to actually be paying attention all the way down to about 13 or 14, because the way they do it is, as you're doing a line selections, one can pick 2, so they can pick within the top 8 even, and so one can pick 2, at which point everybody moves up 1 slot, and 9 now becomes the 8th alliance captain, and the way that can cascade is you get down to about 13 or 14, and all of a sudden becomes that 8th alliance captain. So, which is how we end up becoming, on our highest rookie seed, we were like 9th or 10th, and we became an alliance captain. No idea what we were doing. You can ask Ray about that. So even if you think you're in the middle of the pack, at 10 or 12, you still have to be paying attention, and you have to be thinking like you could become an alliance captain, because it's a pretty good probability that you will be. So, because a lot of times one does pick 2. One generally picks somewhere in the top. They don't always pick 2 or 3, but they do generally pick a higher ranked team.
Cracking the whistle.
Yeah.
Stuff's happening. I think they're almost ready to do
Not
some
ready,
testing.
They're probably gonna do a drive test first. So hold this
Yeah, so-
momentarily. So.
But they're getting closer now. They're at the testing.
So how many regionals do each team participate in? Is there a limit?
There's not a limit, except for by funding.
Well, there's, I guess
You can go to multiple.
how many could you fit into the span? There's a 6-week span of regionals.
So there you go.
So 6.
6 is the maximum you probably can do. I don't know of any team that does that many, because at $5,000 a pop, they're kind of expensive.
They're up over there.
So, and that's just the entrance fee. That includes all your travel.
You've got 2 qualifications.
So it's plenty expensive to get there. We generally go to 2 because we think it gives us better opportunity to at least, give some, then we're not just running, 1 weekend, we give some good opportunities to the students, but it also gives us an opportunity to say, okay, what did we learn this week, and apply some changes and get into the next week.
Alright. So the bot is now ready to rumble.
Do we have bumpers on at all?
No.
You put bumpers on?
Okay.
Well, bummers for the video.